So he started. What were some of the ups and downs from, I'm not going to ask for your recollections because you're way too young to remember what happened back then. What were some of the challenges that the company struck? So obviously it came out of prohibition. In other words, there was an opportunity out of a problem. The problem was prohibition, and then the whole market opened up. And so what were some of the challenges along the way? Were there fights between family members? Was there challenges? Tell us some of the interesting stories that you've been told that maybe gives us an insight into what it's like to have four generation family businesses, because there's not many of those around, especially privately held.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I'd love to talk about it. And it'll span a lot of years, so it's not just the 1940s or 50s. I'll probably bring you up through the 2000s. So where the Bales side of the family entered the picture is Jack had a daughter. Her name is Jackie Holloway, and she married Charles Bales Jr., who's my grandfather. And he's a Georgia Tech engineer that built the highway system across Florida. And then in the later years of the 50s and 60s, and even 70s, Jack asked him to come work with him and run ABC, because I would say it was explosive growth for the first 30, 40 years. And it was, from all I'm being told, it was typical. Jack and my grandfather went by Charlie, so same name. So Jack and Charlie had a great relationship. They worked well together. They complemented each other, but of course they had those wild and crazy times where they didn't get along, and it's a family business. And and then guess what? The third generation starts coming in the business. That's my dad, my uncle, and they come in about the 70s. They start figuring things out and doing well and getting in powerful position in the 80s. And then in the 90s, when Jack passed away, which my grandfather, Charlie, stepped out of the business in the 80s. But then Jack passed away in the early 90s. So really the torch was kind of passed to the third generation at that point. And we had, at that point, 200 corner small liquor stores, because that was our business model, across really just Central Florida, and 100 bars attached to those 200 stores. Where in today's world, we have 126 stores, and we're across all of Florida, from the Panhandle down to Miami, all down the coast. Our average size store is about 10,000 square feet.
Wow.
We have 30 stores that are 2 stories, where the stock room is up top. We have 0 bars. The last bar closed in 2000. So really over the past 30 years, which the first 10 years of that 30, the third generation orchestrated a complete change of business model. And, what I know, of course, there were the great times, there were the bad times, there was a lot of division and a lot of working together. But what got through, or how we got through all of that, and even in today's world, the fourth generation, is everybody understands that the company is more important than each other or any individual. And the executive team we have right now, the third generation, deserves a ton of credit for instilling that into everybody. But it really started with Jack and Charlie Jr. Working together, figuring things out. And that's really what got us through. It's just the company is bigger than any individual or either family. And I think that might be one of the secrets to why we're still around, because the fourth generation all respect that point that was ingrained in us years and years and years ago.